Welcome to The Explainer. Right now, we are watching the AI boom completely rewrite the rules of an $850 billion cloud landscape. We're seeing massive, unprecedented opportunities popping up right alongside some seriously staggering new risks. If you really want to understand where our digital infrastructure is heading this year, you've got to look at the exact intersection where skyrocketing costs, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity all crash into each other.
Here is our agenda for today. We're going to cover the AI cloud boom, the billion-dollar cloud waste, how AI democratizes cyber threats, visualizing cloud complexity, adopting zero-trust architecture, and finally, training the next defenders. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The AI Cloud Boom.
To really grasp what's happening, we have to start by looking at the sheer, mind-blowing scale of the market today. Listen, cloud computing isn't just a fun technology trend anymore, it is literally the fundamental substrate of our entire digital economy. Gartner forecasts that public cloud end-user spending is going to hit an astonishing $850 billion in 2026. Just to put that into perspective for you, the market has grown roughly six-fold since 2020. And what's really wild, this massive market is actually speeding up, not slowing down. This explosive growth is being driven almost entirely by the relentless demand for AI infrastructure. Basically, every single upward revision in IT spending forecasts right now is directly tied to the hyperscalers, the massive providers like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, racing to build out AI capacity, as enterprises scramble to integrate generative AI into their everyday operations.
So who is actually cashing in? Well, the big three dominate over 60% of all that cloud infrastructure spending. AWS is holding the lead at 28%, followed by Microsoft Azure at 21%, and Google Cloud at 14%. But honestly, what the raw numbers don't immediately show you is the momentum behind them. Google Cloud is actually seeing the fastest percentage growth in recent quarters, climbing all the way up from 12% just a couple of years ago, while AWS has seen its share drift down slightly from 30%. The landscape is heavily consolidated for sure, but this brutal battle for AI supremacy is actively shifting the balance of power.
Section 2. The billion-dollar cloud waste.
But here's the catch. With all this explosive acceleration comes a very, very expensive complication. Growth at this kind of breakneck speed is inherently messy, and when things get messy in the cloud, they get expensive incredibly fast. So the crucial question we have to ask is, if cloud computing is supposed to be this peak of operational efficiency, why is cost management the #1 top challenge for 85% of organizations for the third straight year? You'd naturally think mature technologies get cheaper and easier to manage over time, right? But the data is telling us the exact opposite story.
The answer actually lies in this pretty sobering number right here, 29%. According to Flexera's 2026 State of the Cloud report, self-estimated wasted cloud spend has jumped to 29%. This actually marks the very first increase we've seen in 5 long years. Think about that percentage against an $850 billion market. That implies well over $200 billion of spend that organizations themselves consider to be entirely wasted. Just gone.
So, why is this waste suddenly skyrocketing? Well, it boils down to 3 primary reasons. First off, organizations are completely struggling to govern surging AI compute costs. Honestly, AI costs are effectively cloud costs now. Second, they are totally drowning in complex, increasingly diverse pricing models. And third, they're failing to leverage commitment discounts across sprawling multi-cloud environments. We're talking about less than half of organizations effectively using programs like reserved instances or savings plans, which is essentially just prepaying for server time at a steep discount. It's basically leaving free money on the table.
Section 3. AI democratizes cyber threats.
Now, this complication isn't just financial. The exact same AI technology that's driving the market boom is radically altering the cybersecurity battlefield. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in who can actually pull off a sophisticated cyber attack. And this brings us to a new, major threat: state-adjacent actors. For decades, the biggest threat came from elite, highly trained nation-state groups. But the Cloud Security Alliance has identified a massive rise in these mid-tier, state-adjacent actors. These are individuals who often have criminal backgrounds and seriously lack elite training, but they're highly motivated to cause chaos, often operating in a gray zone with implicit permission from state intelligence services.
Let's look at this Cloud Security Alliance report, focusing on a cluster known as Gray Vibe. It perfectly illustrates how generative AI acts as this massive, terrifying equalizer. So Gray Vibe is a Russia Nexus threat group that targets Ukrainian infrastructure. The crazy part? The group's underlying technical judgment is actually pretty terrible. They literally uploaded their own development malware to VirusTotal just to see if it would get caught, and they left internet slang scattered all throughout their code. But AI completely patched their skill gaps. They just used ChatGPT and Google Gemini for malware development and lure generation. This allowed them to execute sophisticated, multi-campaign operations despite their baseline lack of expertise.
Let's put these two paradigms side by side to really see the difference. Historically, elite operations required deep human expertise, bespoke malware development from scratch, and multi-year patience. Today, AI-assisted threat actors are using AI-generated code, highly automated phishing, and rapid reconnaissance at absolute scale. AI has entirely compressed the gap, establishing a brand new capability floor. This means organizations that previously thought they were perfectly safe from elite nation-states, because they weren't important enough, must now defend against AI-empowered criminals, deploying state-level techniques. It's a whole new ballgame.
Section 4. Visualizing cloud complexity.
So how exactly does the industry fight back against this dual threat of massive financial waste and democratized AI-powered cyber attacks? Well, it all starts with being able to actually see what you are defending. Complete visibility is step one. Modern multi-cloud environments have gotten so unbelievably complex that making a simple cost optimization decision can accidentally break a critical production dependency. Utilizing real-time visualization tools like Deutsch Cloud Diagrams is an absolute game changer. It helps engineers visually map cross-account network flows and dynamically highlight security risks and cost context directly right there in the architecture diagram. Honestly, if you can't trace complex network flows and track resource dependencies in real time, you are flying blind in a very expensive and very dangerous storm.
Section 5. Adopting Zero Trust Architecture.
Once we actually have eyes on our infrastructure, we have to structurally lock it down. And in 2026, the only viable structural defense against AI-enabled attacks that can move at machine speed is a zero-trust architecture. It's a strict, never trust, always verify mindset. Now, according to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, there is this theoretical mature state of zero trust where every single endpoint, subject, and resource is continuously authenticated. But practically speaking, enterprises have to start in what they call a crawl phase. They use their existing legacy tools to secure on-premises resources first, and then migrate this discipline gradually into the cloud, rather than trying to boil the ocean on day one. It's about smart, incremental security.
Section 6. Training the next defenders. Finally, here's the ultimate reality check. The most advanced visibility tools and zero-trust architectures in the world mean absolutely nothing without highly skilled humans to implement and defend them. And traditional IT training simply isn't keeping up. Enter SutraByte's 6-week intensive training roadmap. It directly bridges the critical skills gap by moving students rapidly out of basic cloud foundations directly into hands-on, real-world attack simulations.
Once students are in the program, this is their signature teaching formula. They don't just sit there watching passive lectures. They learn the concept, they build a cloud environment, and then, here's the fun part, they deliberately break it. For instance, they might intentionally create an overprivileged IAM identity, giving a fake user way too much access. Or maybe leave an S3 storage bucket totally publicly open. Then, they play the role of the attacker to analyze the vulnerabilities. Finally, they fix it and document their findings in a professional security report. It's a completely hands-on approach that teaches defenders exactly how real-world attackers exploit misconfigurations.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for this explainer. Whether you're dealing with FinOps, AI workloads, or cybersecurity, you simply cannot just lift and shift legacy mindsets into the cloud without a rock-solid plan. If you try, you're going to drown in technical debt, you'll contribute to wasting billions of dollars across the industry, and you will leave your infrastructure completely wide open to these state-adjacent threat actors. It's a recipe for disaster. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Take a hard look at your own deployments, your operating costs, and your security posture. Are you structurally prepared for what's coming, or are you really just keeping your head above water right now? Thank you so much for joining me to explore the fascinating, high-stakes evolution of our digital infrastructure. See you on the next explainer.